Perfect. So, hello everybody. There's very few of you, so I'm probably gonna not take the full hour because I probably won't need it. But I'm just here to kind of go over some things that have changed. Just go over the Tech Award, and just look at the Tech Award as it is at the moment. So I'm going to this is what the kind of things that we're going to go over today. So there's going to be a brief introduction. We're going to have a look back at the PSA that was just done, was moderated in May. We're going to have some frequently answered questions. These are the questions that I get asked, so I answer lots of them. Some of the key dates for 2023-24, and I'll show you some useful links and some bookmarks that I suggest you keep because they're really, really useful. And then we'll have some time for some question and answer at the end. So as you know, you may not know, my name's Esther Traherne and I'm the subject advisor for childcare and health and social care. As we go along, if you don't ask any questions, that's absolutely fine. Save them for the end, write them down, and hopefully we'll get to those towards the end of the presentation. And I may well answer them during the presentation. So there's no need for you to, worry about putting things in the chat box unless it's something that you think, oh, I really need to know that for that slide. Okay, so we're just going to have a very brief introduction about what the Tech Award is about. I assume all of you are delivering the Tech Award, but I don't know that. So the Tech Award, we've been doing this since 2022. And this is the second year at it, and we're getting quite good at it now. We're getting good at the delivery. We're getting good at the PSAs, the Pearson Set Assignments, and really we're over sort of a lot of the teething troubles. I think we've gone through those. I'm not getting a lot of the same questions over and over again, so I'm hoping that we have kind of gone over those at this point. The next big thing that's coming up will obviously be the component 3 exam in January, which is obviously a new thing and we've not done it before. And then obviously awarding of the qualification for summer 2024. There may be some awarding that happens in March time when you get the results from your component 3 exams. And there's going to be lots more information coming soon, and as soon as there's information out there, we'll let everybody know. So please don't worry. Obviously, everything that's there on the slide is what you're doing at the moment. One of the most important things to kind of think about is the resources. There's lots and lots of resources being added all the time. There's essential exemplar standardization material. We're just waiting for the childcare, child development one. It should be in the next couple of days. It's all ready to go. We're just waiting to get it uploaded onto the website, and that will be for component 1 and 2. So there'll be some new examples that you can have a look at that will help you prepare you and your students as well. There's lots of paid for resources available, and I would say that the most important thing is the specification. So keep that specification near you at all times. I think we're on to issue 2 at this time. So just make sure that you're using the correct issue. Just pop onto the website every now and again and make sure that you've got the most up-to-date copy of the specification. Things do change, small tweaks and things like that. So it's really important that you're using the most up-to-date version of the of the specification. Okay, so what I thought I would do is have a look at some of the moderator comments that we got for the component 1 PSA that was done in the May-June moderation window, and the results came through in August. So this is the newest PSA moderators report that we've got. A quick tip that might be useful: the PSAs that are labelled on the internal assessment page of the website, it says internal assessment and in brackets it says PSA. the PSAs are labelled with the moderation date and not the release date. So the components that were released on the 1st of September 2023, the ones that just come out, are labelled with January 2024 because that's the moderation window. And that's been decided that aligns with GQ qualifications. So that's the way that they would like it to go ahead for the Tech Awards. Okay, so the lead moderator reports, I think they're called principal examiner reports on the website, to be very, very confusing. So I probably should have called it that. It's really, really valuable. And this is written by the lead moderator. The lead moderator gets a sample of all the PSAs that have been completed, gets a sample of them, has a look at them, and kind of makes a report out of all of those things. So looks at what the common themes are, what the common problems are, what the things that have been done really well are. It's not just negative stuff, it's good, positive stuff as well. And it's got lots of tips and lots of, good ideas of how to approach the PSA and to complete it. Sorry, I'm just trying to move my... the lead moderator reports are really for you as a teacher to have a look at, but there's no reason why you can't share them with your learners as well and let them have a look at them and see what the moderators are looking for. So it might just be a really helpful tool for you to use while you're teaching. So this is the comments that the lead moderator made about component 1. And it shows that you as teachers, you're beginning to, really feel that you're comfortable teaching component 1 and using the marking grids. I think the marking grids have been challenging, I think, for some teachers. And there's also, children are beginning, the students are beginning to understand about children's growth and development. So that's really, really important. I'll just move on to the next one. Okay, so this is kind of some of the top tips that the lead moderator has given for students going forward. So I would suggest, oh, hang on, I think I might have. Oh, yes, no, I've not. Sorry, I apologize. So this is kind of, I would share this with your students. This would be a really useful thing to share with them. And just let them see exactly what the moderator is suggesting. And they just, making sure that learners carefully read the questions, because, that's one of the areas that we know that students tend to rush through. They don't always read it really carefully. Make sure that they use the milestones that are provided in the appendix to support task 1, task 2, and task 3. They are provided with milestones, so they can use those, that appendix, and that's one less thing that they've got to worry about. So also he's given some extra, she rather has given some extra stuff for the students. Look at them, making sure that they're focusing on roles and responsibilities. Look at the next immediate milestones, and that's one of the things that I know students have struggled with a little bit. And look at making sure that you encourage your learners to consider the most and the least influencing factors. So just making them a well-developed argument. So that's really useful for them as well. Sorry, just bear with me. Okay, so this is really positive, and I like the fact that they've included the strengths. Complete learner submissions showing evidence for all tasks, so that's really good. It means that the learners are getting to be able to show evidence for all of their tasks. Really good that you'd managed to get submissions onto Edexcel Online. Completed and signed assessment records for all learners seems really obvious, but it's really important that you include those. Using the marking grids is really the key. and it's recognizing the words that are used in the marking grids, you know, whether that's you know, complete or vague. I can't remember the words off the marking grid at this moment in time, but it's making sure that you understand what those words actually mean. And a lot of the words that are used on the marking grids are contained in the specification. So again, it's really useful to use that specification. Evidence of internal standardization, that's really important. It's not something that we require, but it's really good. If there's a team of you, it's really worth looking at those exemplar standardization materials and working through them as a team and just having a look and making sure that you're all agreeing on what kind of work we're looking for a Mark Band 1 learner or a Mark 4 band learner. So just making sure that you're looking at those things all together as a team and making sure that you're all doing the same thing. Making sure that you submit a single file for learner, so just saving one folder with your learner's name on it. Just make sure that that's really easy to drop and drag into the learner work transfer system. Some really detailed assessor feedback, which is really nice. And the language from the marking grids is used in the assessment comments. So that's really good. So you're looking at the marking grids and using the same sort of terminology, the same sort of words that have been used. So that's some really positive things that the moderator picked up on. Now, these are some of the weaknesses. So these are some of the things that we could look at to improve. So sometimes it's not always a complete submission. So, you know, it's important that that's worked on. Documents are not fully scanned and so pages admitted. That's really important. You want to make sure that as many of all your students' work that they've completed and they've taken all their time to complete is uploaded to the learner work transfer. If they don't get all the work, if the moderators don't see all the work, then they can't mark all the work. They can't give you feedback on all the work. Some inconsistencies on the marks submitted onto Edexcel Online and the marks recorded on the assessment record. So just make sure that you're sat with your assessment record and then you put your marks onto Edexcel Online. It's always worth sitting with somebody while you do it, whether that's a colleague or whether that's the exams officer, and just making sure that you're getting that exactly right. This is quite an important one, not submitting the highest and lowest scoring learner work. So if you have a sample of 10, and most of you will have a sample of 10 because you've got, you know, a cohort of less than 100, then you need to make sure that within that, if the highest and the lowest scoring learners are not in that 10, then you need to add them. So it may well be that you get 11 or you get 12 that need to be sampled. It's really important, the highest and the lowest scoring learners. If you've got 2 learners that had the same score at the highest or the lowest, just pick one. It doesn't matter. Working on making sure that you use the marking grid correctly, and we've got marking and moderation training. There's some recorded training that you can go back and read and have a look at. Internal standardization not always carried out. Again, that's not that doesn't have to be carried out. That's not a requirement, but it's good practice to carry out internal standardization. And this has been some delays in submitting outstanding evidence. So just make sure. So the next window for when you need to be uploading stuff will be December. Now, I would not leave it until the 15th of December to upload your work. Make sure that you're doing it at least a few days or a week before that, so you can make sure that you've got everything there and everything is uploaded at the right time. Okay, so this is a question that I've had twice today, and so I thought I'd just stick it in. And it's come up quite a lot in the last few weeks or so. I've taken it back to the assessment team so that they can pass it on to the people who write the component, the PSAs, just so that they understand that there might be a bit of a problem with some of the wording that we're using. And hopefully, I mean, I have no power, but it might well be that we can get something changed. So it's component 2, it's the activity plan that's used for task 2 and task 3, which is the adult initiated play and the child initiated play, I think it is. And the question that keeps coming up is with the activity plan in the box that's labeled section 9 and the box that's labeled section 10. And it's difficult. And I have to say, I've looked at it myself and I would be exactly the same position as you. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to understand the difference between section 9 and section 10. One says about justification and one says about an evaluation. So I asked the expert team and they came back to me and they gave me a really brief and really concise answer to the question. So section 9, you have to justify the activity and general benefits and disadvantages to the way play is organised. But section 10 is much more specific on the benefits and advantages and how play is organised. So it could be that it's all in one. They could put it all in perhaps section 9 if they can justify and evaluate in one box. But I would encourage your students to make sure that they can put something in section 9 and something in section 10 so that it's really clear. Okay, so just some of the frequently asked questions that I'm getting asked all the time. These are the questions that I'm getting asked at the moment. As we go through the year or through the 2-year cycle, the questions do change. We have an FAQs page on the main BTEC Tech Award page, and that will tell you those FAQs are updated regularly, and they're the ones that are coming in to everybody. So all the subject advisors, all the assessment teams, they're coming up and they're the ones that they need to update. So they're really useful to keep an eye on. And it's one of the pages that I've got a link to on the presentation that you can bookmark and make sure that you can go back and look at it every now and again. So the guided learning hours, obviously we know it's the same size as a GCSE, so it's 120 guided learning hours. And it works out, somebody was asking me about weighting today. So the weighting is 30% for component 1, 30% for component 2, and 40% for component 3. The other things that I've been asked is there a recommended number of pages for each task within the component? Students free to provide as many pages as they want to. Or as many pages as they need. There's no requirement. So we give a guide, but it is just a guide. I get asked a lot about the 6 hours, and one teacher was very, very trying to pin me down as to exactly how much time we should be allowed. We've given you 6 hours. If students need more hours, that's absolutely fine. If they need less, we have had some that have done it in shorter time, then that's absolutely fine. Please, if you give them, use your professional judgment. If you give them a lot more time, it's unlikely that they're going to produce much better work. It just means that they're going to write a lot more. It doesn't mean that it's actually quality. It might just be that it's quantity. And just remember, for access arrangements, if your students are allowed extra time for exams, so if they've got access arrangements for exams and they get 25% extra, they absolutely should be given extra time for the PSA as well. It is a bit difficult and you've got to timetable that in, but you need to take that into account. Okay, so the other thing is, what can students take into the PSA? So the thing with course notes is that it is course notes. So it's whatever the students have produced during teaching and learning. So whatever's in their exercise books, whatever they've written themselves, that's absolutely fine. It shouldn't include lesson PowerPoint. So if you do a lesson and you use a PowerPoint on the whiteboard, I have no idea how you teach these days, but if you use a PowerPoint on the whiteboard and it's your work, that shouldn't be in the students' course notes because it's not their work, it's your work. There's also some revision type books that are going around at the moment. They have far too much scaffolding in them. They shouldn't be taken into the PSA. Remember that they can't have access to the internet or a textbook. Just remember that if they want to download a picture, an image, they can do that. It needs to be referenced correctly. That's very difficult for you to police. I would say that there is no requirement for students to put pictures in. There's nothing, they won't get penalised if they don't put pictures in. So just be aware that it's very difficult for you as teachers to monitor a student using the internet to download a picture and not using it to Google things. So just be very aware of that. The other question I get asked quite a lot, if the PSA is released, can I then look at it with the students and work on it before we start the controlled assessment? The answer is no. Once all teaching and learning has been completed, then you can give the students the PSA. It's really good practice to go through it with students so they understand what's to be expected. So you go through, right, task 1, this is, you need to do this bit. Task 2, I'm going to give you an hour. Task 3, I'm going to give you an hour and a half, whatever it is. But just make sure that they're not working on it until they're in the controlled assessment. Okay, so you can go through them like you would any assignment. You'd go through with them and, you know, make them understand what is required of them. You can't tell them what they should be including, but you need to make sure that they understand fully and which bit has an activity plan, which bit has a case study, so that they're fully aware of each bit. Okay, so retakes. So this is something that's different for the Tech Awards to other BTEC qualifications. So it's just becoming a little bit more complicated, and it's something that us BTEC teachers, I've been a BTEC teacher, I've only ever taught BTEC, it's a little bit more difficult to get our heads around. So just remember that students can do a retake with a different PSA in a different moderation window, but they still need to do component 3, has to be the last thing they do. So the question that we're getting asked a lot, and I got asked it in particular, I got it asked on Tuesday when I did one of these for health and social care. There was a teacher and she said, right, I've entered them for the January exam, and then I'm going to let them retake component 1, I think it was, with the January release, which is for May moderation. You can't do that. If they do the January exam, they should have completed component 1, component 2, and then they complete component 3. Now, if they then don't do very well in component 3 and you want to re-enter them for the May component 3, that's absolutely fine. And at that point, they could retake component 1 or component 2 because they're not finished. But it's really, really important to understand that if you're putting them in for the January, they must have done component 1 and component 2 before they sit in January. They must have a result for that. It's otherwise you're not fulfilling that terminal assessment rule. And that's just different. That is different from other BTECs, and it is just a little bit different. But the terminal assessment rule is not just Pearson, that's the same for everybody else as well. So you just need to make sure that you meet those terminal assessment rules. The other thing is if the students do the exam in January and they get, say, a level 2 merit, a level 1 merit, a level 1 merit, and they think, oh, I'd quite like to try again and get a little bit higher. If they then sit the retake in May, and they only get a level 1 pass, it is the level 1 pass that will be used for certification, because it has to be the final sitting of the exam that is used for their sitting. That's different for the internal components. The internal components, it will be the highest grade that's used. External component, it's not. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so just a few links and things. So the key dates document, we've updated it for 23-24. It's really, really important that you look at this regularly so that you can see where the dates are. At the moment, it's about getting your students registered, so getting them actually onto the course, getting them entered for each PSA. So they have to be entered for component 1 PSA, component 2 PSA, and then component 3. We have to have an entry for component 1 and component 2 so that we know whether you need a moderator or not. So at the moment, a lot of year 11s are doing component 2, and that's great. That's really good. So they need to be entered for the PSA that they're doing at the moment. If the students for year 10 are going to do the January release of the PSA for May moderation, then you need to enter those as soon as possible. And all the dates are in that document. So I've put a link on there. So when you get this PowerPoint, you'll be able to find the link, but it's on the front page of the BTEC Tech Award Child Development page. It's there on the front page is a link to that document. It's really important that you keep an eye on it and make sure that you avoid late fees for late registrations, late entries, things like that. It's also really useful for your exams officer, because your exams officer will be able to use that as well for making entries and things like that. Oh, sorry, that's me. I've broken my computer now. Apologies. Okay, so I put together some links that I think would be really useful. These are the sort of links that I would say bookmark them, put them somewhere where you update that, where you can look at them regularly. The Tech Award Child Development qualification page, you can find all the resources, past training content. You'll be able to find a recording of this meeting, because I'm going to get it put up on there, and you'll have direct access to me. So you'll be able to find my email address. You'll be able to book a meeting with me, either face-to-face on Teams, or you can just phone up. That's absolutely fine. There's also the main Tech Award page. That's for all the Tech Awards. So it's generic sort of page, but it's got lots and lots of really useful information. It's got those FAQs that I was talking about that we update regularly. They're being updated at the moment to make sure that the retake rules are really, really clear. There's lots of really useful information about moderation and how moderation works for any BTEC teachers who've not been through moderation. There's also an actual link for exams officers. So there's a page that's actually dedicated to exams officers for what they need for the Tech Award. And there's also links to the quality assurance process for the Tech Award, because the quality assurance is different from any other BTEC. So we've reduced down the amount of paperwork that you need. We've reduced down the amount of times you need to register with us. So to make it much more easy to do. So you don't need to register as a lead IV on the new Tech Award. You don't need to do standardization, though it is good practice to do it. If you do standardization, just make a note of it and keep it somewhere. But if you're a lone teacher, it's unlikely that you're going to be doing quality assurance, you're going to do standardization. So just be, really aware that the quality assurance process for the Tech Award is different, but it's much more streamlined. So all we really need is a course leader, and that, whoever that is, who needs to be the course leader. But there's no more lead IVing, there's no more IVing of students' work. So hopefully once the students have completed their work and you've marked it and you can upload it onto the Learn to Work transfer, That's it, you're done. Okay, so as I've kind of rattled through that a bit, I'm sorry, you've listened to a lot of me talking. I will open the floor up, and if anybody's got any questions, I don't even know whether any of you are still here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I will put my camera back on, and then you can have a look. There I am. Oh, we have got a few people here. That's good. Has anybody got any questions? Oh, hang on just a second. Oh, hang on, just this. I'm just going to see if I can pull the meeting chat out. If you could just give me 2 seconds. Right, okay. One first way I'm going to send it's more of a scan through, identifying areas that need improving rather than a detailed mark. So do we have to fill out the tracker form for the first mark and then do it again by overwriting? No, just do it once. It, it is good to keep a record of the first marking, but it's not a requirement, and it's not something that I would put in the tracker. I would just put in the tracker your final marks, just put them in there. Because you don't want to do the tracker. I agree, you don't want to do the tracker twice. You know, if you do the first marking, if you do a first mark, just put it on a bit of paper. Just put, either do like the assessment record sheet, just so that you can see what you've got. But I really don't think putting the first mark in the tracker is required. I think it's just the final marks that I would put in. All right, how's that? Was that all right? Anybody got any other questions? You can come off mute. You can talk to me, honestly. On the online training recording on the website, there is a query about how the tracker covers everything apart from the student declaration, but there wasn't a clear answer on what needs to be done. The declaration. I think if you use the tracker and you print out what you need to put with the sample, it has a declaration on there that the students need to sign. As far as I know, that's how the tracker works. If not, then just use the assessment record sheet. There must be a student signature. A student must sign it to say that it's their own work. As far as I know, there is, because you wouldn't print out the whole tracker, you would only print off the form that is required. You can do that on the tracker, and there should be a thing that you can sign, the students can sign on there. If not, put in their email address. It's an electronic signature. But it just needs something. We need something to show that the students agree that the work that they've produced is their own work. Any other questions? Sorry, Alex, I didn't say hello, Alex. I'm answering your questions. I apologize. Anybody got anything else they want to ask? Burning questions. As long as it's not about the live PSA, because I can't talk about that. But anything else, I'm happy to talk about it. Have you got any good practice to share? Found anything that works really well for your students? Any feedback that you want me to take back? They're really good. I love siren websites. The siren clips are really, really good. They're really excellent. Show really good children's play and things like that. I think they're fab. Alex, do you have to pay for the siren ones? Yeah, I thought you did. But it's worth paying for, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. I would smiley face you all the way, definitely. Ah, teach me the best. Oh, very good reasons. Well, like we say, the Siren website's a really Siren website. I've got some fabulous clips of children playing. They're really good. Um, Jessica, I think there's a Facebook group. Does anybody know if there's the childcare Facebook group? I'm not a part of that, so but there was a group of child development teachers that might be, worth. And if if there's anything that you're really struggling with, Jessica, please feel free to drop me an email. I'm very happy to, talk something over with you but as for finding other teachers, I mean, I don't know whether anybody, wants to private message you to give you an email address that you can all get together or about the Facebook group. Textbook's great. Oh, I love it, Alex. Such a good idea. Oh, can you get the Argos book? Do they still do an Argos book? All those lovely toys in there. Just go through shiny, shiny paper. Students love shiny paper. They love going through, cutting things out. Oh, is it? Yeah, I don't know. Did that today with the Smiths. Oh, lovely. I love it. As long as they don't go through it going, oh yeah, I love that for Christmas. I love that for Christmas. Early Learning Centre also used to do stuff. I don't even know whether they're still around. It's been so long since I've taught anything. Yeah, collecting a stock of toys is great. Charity shops are a good place to go for things like that. We always used to fill up our room with stuff from charity shops. You saw anything really good? I'm going to write that down. Catalogs. Anything else? Anybody got any more questions? Okay. Well, if that's all you need from me, remember, I'm always here if you need me. You can drop me an email at teachingchildcare@pearson.com at any time. You can book a meeting with me. If you look on the Tech Award page, you'll find the links to my meeting schedules. And please feel free to contact me if you need anything.